A very good morning to all of you. You're watching Breakfast News. My name is Aditi Nagpal Girotra. Let's get the news rolling with the headlines first. Winter session of Parliament concludes. Rajya Sabha's 250th session passes 15 bills, achieves 100% productivity over 20 sittings. Lok Sabha also records 116% productivity, passes 14 bills. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold first National Council of Ganga in Kanpur today. Will review progress of work done and also deliberate on aspects of cleaning the Ganga. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman assures distressed industries will get help, asserts that steps taken by government will improve consumption growth. Last day of campaigning for the fourth phase of Jharkhand elections. BJP President Amit Shah rally scheduled in Giridih, Dhanbad and Devgarh. Congress and JMM leaders to also campaign, voting for 15 seats for fourth phase on 16th December. Big breakthrough after 18-month-long bruising trade war between United States and China. Both reached trade agreement calling for structural reforms and tariff concessions. Productivity was a major issue this session, especially for the Rajya Sabha, since the last session recorded productivity of 104% by availing more than the available time for transacting the business. Maintaining the positive momentum was a big focus area for the upper house. It finally managed to see close to 100% productivity for 2 sessions in a row. Here are the details.
Meaningful debates were witnessed in the upper house on a wide gamut of issues in the winter session of Parliament. Over 20 sittings and against a total scheduled available time of 108 hours 33 minutes, the House functioned for 107 hours 11 minutes, resulting in a productivity of 99%. A total of 11 hours 47 minutes, accounting for about 11% of the available time of the House, was lost due to interruptions. However, making up for lost time, the members sat for 10 hours 52 minutes beyond scheduled hours, resulting in productivity of close to 100% during this session.
I'm very pleased to note that this House of Elders have demonstrated its resolve to send out a positive message by turning out 100% productivity during the last and this session. I tend to strongly believe that this new normal will stay for all the times to come. Whenever there is loss of time, we made up for the loss by sitting extra. That's why this percentage came. The debates on the state of economy, the Pegasus spyware issue, the surrogatory bill and the citizenship amendment bill, etc. have brought out the best from all sides in this August House. Spirited arguments and counter-arguments were made from both the sides. While the opposition flagged their concern, the Treasury benches sought to address them in equal spirit. This heightened quality of debates deservedly got the media space, providing a point that it is not disruptions alone fetch space, but meaningful debates get even more. I compliment all of you for the same.
15 bills were passed in the session, including some landmark bills, like the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Bill, that is the first of its kind for transgender persons. Other major bills included the Citizenship Amendment Bill, the Constitution 126th Amendment Bill, extending reservation for SCs and STs in the legislatures by another 10 years, the bill banning e-cigarettes, the International Financial Services Centre Bill. After a long time, the upper house discussed and returned the appropriation bill.
The major highlights of session is passing of Citizenship Amendment Bill, SC/ST reservation continuation, the Arms Amendment Bill, Chit Fund Amendment Bill, National Capital Territory of Delhi, recognition of property rights and of residents in unauthorized colony Bill 2019, the Transgender Persons Protection Rights Bill 2019, the recycling of the ship bill 2019. These are the important bills.
39% of the total time was spent on legislative business, 25.4% on raising and discussing matters of urgent public importance under short duration discussion, 2 calling attention notices, 0 hour and special mentions, 13% on question hour meant for ensuring accountability of the executive, and 5% on private members' bills. During this session, a total of 199 0R and 115 special mentions were made at the rate of a record over 14 and 7 respectively per day. This is a substantial improvement over 9 0R and 5.50 special mentions made per day during the last session.
I would like to sum up the course of this historic session as one marked by seriousness and brevity. The seriousness is born out of definite sense of purpose of enhancing the dignity of this august institution. Brevity has manifested itself in adhering to the time limits, resulting in more number of starred questions orally answered and 0 hour and special mentions made, besides more number of members intervening in debates during this session. I am particularly happy over all of you collectively demonstrating that parliamentary democracy is more about contestation of ideas and ideologies than confrontation, which carries a tinge of conflict in its womb. The quality of debates on several occasions bear this out. Effectiveness of parliamentary democracy is critically dependent on efficient functioning of legislature.
171 starred questions, accounting for 67% of the total 255 questions scheduled to be taken up, were orally answered in the session. This came to 9.5 questions orally answered per day, which is the best performance in the last 49 years since 1971, for which data is available. The previous best has been 8.71 starred questions orally answered per day during the 198th session in 2003. This is Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
As the historic 250th session of the Upper House came to a close, Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu complimented the members for a productive session. The chairman summed up the course of the historic session as one marked by seriousness and brevity. He expressed happiness as the House collectively demonstrated that parliamentary democracy is more about contestation of ideas and ideologies than confrontation.
Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu on Friday complimented members of the Upper House for sustaining the positive momentum of the last session during the winter session of Parliament. The chairman said spirited arguments and counter-arguments were made from both the sides, and while the opposition flagged their concerns, the Treasury benches sought to address them in equal spirit.
While the last session recorded productivity of 104% by availing more than the available time for transacting the business, this session too clocked almost around 100% productivity. This is perhaps for the first time that this House recorded 100% productivity for 2 successive sessions.
The chairman also held a first-of-its-kind meeting with the chairmen of parliamentary committees. He has written to leaders of all the parties and groups in this House, seeking to ensure quantitative and qualitative participation in the meetings of these committees.
Concern about functioning of department-related standing committees and other committees of the House has emerged. I held a meeting with the chairman of all these 20 committees on the 5th of this month to share my concern. I was told by some chairman that it was first of its kind. Subsequently, I have written to the leaders of all parties and groups in this House seeking to ensure quantitative and qualitative participation in the meetings of these committees, given the criticality of the role in the functioning of our parliamentary democracy.
Chairman Naidu also thanked all sides for their cooperation in making it a productive session. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, special preparations were done by the Rajya Sabha Secretariat during this historic session of the Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha General Secretary Desh Deepak Verma said that this session has been productively and full of achievements been done.
माननीय राष्ट्रपति जी के द्वारा इस 250वें सेशन को कमेमोरेट करते हुए एक कमेमोरेटिव कॉइन और एक कमेमोरेटिव स्टैम्प रिलीज़ किया गया, जो एक महत्वपूर्ण उपलब्धि है हमारे सचिवालय के लिए। इसके अलावा एक हमने कमेमोरेटिव वॉल्यूम इस अवसर पर प्रकाशित किया, जिसको हमारे माननीय वाइस प्रेसिडेंट हमारे सभापति जी ने उसको रिलीज़ करके और माननीय राष्ट्रपति जी को उसकी प्रथम प्रति उन्होंने भेंट की।
The Lok Sabha also witnessed a highly productive winter session. The lower house recorded a productivity of 116%. During the session, 18 bills were introduced in the Lok Sabha, out of which 14 bills were passed. Overall, 15 bills were passed by both houses of parliament. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla said that a total of 20 sittings were held, clocking 130 hours, 43 minutes. Oral answers were given for 140 starred questions, and all 20 starred questions listed for the day were taken up on 27th of November.
एक 130 घंटे 14 मिनट यह सत्र चला। कुल 20 बैठ के सत्र की हुई और इस सत्र में भी 28 घंटे 45 मिनट समय से देर रात्रि तक माननीय सदस्यों ने अपनी उपस्थिति से इस सदन को चलाया और ये कह सकते हैं कि इसकी प्रोडक्टिविटी भी 115% रही।
26 days and 20 sittings. Total 18 bills have been introduced in the Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha passed 14 bills. Rajya Sabha has passed 15 bills. The total number bills passed by both the houses of parliament is 15. Once again, within a comparatively it is a short session. Comparing to the sittings, this is the one of the, after the last session, this is the one of the best session as far as productivity is concerned.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman listed the steps undertaken by the government for pushing economic growth on Friday. Addressing a press conference, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that government has taken several steps to boost economy and is focused on clearing all past dues. The Finance Minister assured that the government will intervene on economic issues when required. On possibilities of GST rate hike, Finance Minister said there has been no conversation on it yet. She added that the government is committed to paying the states the compensation for loss of revenue from GST implementation.
अर्थव्यवस्था कहाँ है वगैरह में एंगेज नहीं कर रही हूँ, मैं सीधा काम कर रही हूँ जहाँ हमारे आवश्यकता है वहाँ कुछ करने के लिए. I am looking at the economy where I need to intervene. I am intervening and I shall continue to do addressing the problem of the industry as and when it rises.
She also said that onion prices will soon be under control. She added that the government is doing its best to import the commodity and resolve the issue.
कई जगह पर प्याज के दाम कम भी होने लगे हैं. कम जितना कम होना है उतना नहीं, मगर जहाँ तक पहुँचा उधर से कम हो रहा है. We've had a group of ministers meeting which is reviewing on almost every 1 or 2 days gap basis and deciding on how to further take up the import related issues. जैसे आप कह रहे हैं सही that yes import हो रही है. By the time I also think gradually the crop has started coming in.
Chief Economic Advisor Krishnamurthy Subramanian said 66% of rupees 3.38 lakh crore budgeted expenditure has already been spent by the government. He also said that India received record foreign direct investment of $35 billion in first half of the current financial year compared to $31 billion in first half of 2018-2019.
The credit expansion via the public sector banks, budget announced 70,000 crores of equity, 60,000 crores to be precise, 60,314 crores has been infused already, and 4.9 lakh crores has been disbursed. Of that, 2.2 lakh crores to corporates, about 73,000 crores to MSMEs, and 39,453 crores to retail borrowers.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will review progress of Namami Gange project in Kanpur today. He will chair a meeting of the National Council of Ganga and will also cruise on Ganga River to have a first-hand experience and assess the impact of the project on the holy river. As many as 10 union ministers and chief ministers of 5 states will participate in the meeting to review Ganga cleanliness work executed over the last 5 years. The Prime Minister will also visit an exhibition at Chandrasekhar Azad University. He will also commute by boat from Atal Ghat to Sismau Nala. More than 14 crore litres of sewage water used to fall into the Ganges into this 128-year-old drain. But now it has been completely closed. Strong security arrangements have been made in the city in view of PM's visit to Kanpur. Namami Gange program is an integrated conservation mission approved in June 2014 with budget outlay of Rs 20,000 crore to accomplish the twin objectives of effective pollution control and conservation and rejuvenation of River Ganga. The Andhra Pradesh Legislative Assembly on Friday passed a bill to further amend the Indian Penal Code and the Code of Criminal Procedure that will enable expeditious investigation and trial of offences against women and children, especially sexual offences, and award of death penalty. The proposed new law has been named the Andhra Pradesh Disha Act Criminal Law, AP Amendment Act 2019, as a tribute to the veterinary doctor who was raped and murdered recently in neighbouring Telangana. The new law mandates completion of investigation into cases of sexual offences within 7 working days from the time of record, and the trial within 14 working days from the date of filing the charge sheet. The Assembly also passed another bill that provides for constitution of exclusive special courts for speedy trial of specified offences against women and children. Vice President Venkaiah Naidu complimented the Andhra Pradesh government for the passage of Disha Bill. He said in a tweet that Disha Act will speed up investigations and trial of sexual offences against women. He added, if implemented well, the Act can render timely justice to rape victims, which is in the need of hour. Campaigning would come to an end today for the 4th phase of Jharkhand Assembly elections. Polling would be held in 15 constituencies spread over 4 districts of Dhanbad, Deoghar, Giridih and Bokaro. Star campaigners and senior leaders will be holding rallies to garner support for their party candidates. Today, BJP Chief Amit Shah will campaign for Jharkhand Assembly polls. He will address election campaign in Giridih, Deoghar and Dhanbad. Meanwhile, BJP Working President JP Nadda will also address huge election rallies in Gauda and Sahibganj in Jharkhand. The Supreme Court on Friday said it is satisfied with the report of Juvenile Justice Committee of Jammu and Kashmir High Court, which said that no minors were detained in jails post the abrogation of the provisions of Article 370. The Apex Court, after perusing the committee's report, said that 4 High Court judges visited all the jails in Jammu and Kashmir and they have clearly stated that no minors have been illegally detained there. The bench made this comment when senior advocate Hazifa Ahmadi appeared for petitioner Inakshi Ganguly, who has alleged that minors were detained there post-abrogation of provisions of Article 370, insisted that he should be given time to respond to the committee's report. India has assured the countries of the Indian Pacific region that it will continue to work towards establishing cooperation and power balance with the countries of the Indian Pacific region. While addressing the concluding session of the Ocean Summit and the inaugural session of the Delhi Dialogue 11, Minister of State for External Affairs V. Muralidharan underscored this. He said that the artificial separation of this region during the Cold War has declined as the bipolar era of hostility has receded. He underscored that it is most timely that nations from the IORA family and ASEAN partners gather to discuss the consequential issues that this important concept offers us. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar will address Delhi Dialogue Conference today.
Consequential issues that this important concept offers us. I say this timely because in recent years there has been a steady trend in which nations have recognized that there is compelling logic and increasingly a certain inevitability about the Indo-Pacific concept. Our friends in ASEAN recently set out their own outlook on the Indo-Pacific, and many of the nations in this geography have also set out their own approaches to this concept.
India and Maldives have signed 3 key agreements to boost bilateral ties. The pacts were signed at the 6th Joint Commission meeting of both countries in New Delhi, chaired by External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and his Maldivian counterpart Abdullah Shahid. An MOU was signed for cooperation between the election commissions of the two countries, while the other was exchanged for cooperation between their financial intelligence units. In addition, an instrument of ratification was exchanged for the Treaty on Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters. Meanwhile, Mohammad Nasheed, Speaker of Maldivian Parliament, People's Majlis of the Maldives, called on Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi in New Delhi today. Maldivian Speaker is in India on invitation of Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla and Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu. Northern plains received widespread rains while hills witnessed snowfall on Friday, throwing life out of gear in some places in the higher reaches and cutting off the Kashmir Valley from the rest of the country. Snow ranging from 5 inches to over 3 feet have accumulated at various places, especially in Kashmir, which remains cut off from the rest of the country following the closure of Jammu-Srinagar National Highway for a second day and cancellation of all flights to and from the Srinagar airport for the 7th day. In Uttarakhand, the snowfall continued in the upper reaches of the state, including Kedarnath, Badrinath, Auli, Yamunotri and Gangotri. But places like Rudraprayag, Dehradun, Tehri, Pauri, Uttarakashi, Almora, Bageshwar and Pithogarh being continuously lashed by rains for the last few days, the whole state is in the grip of cold wave. The cold wave and rains have forced authorities to keep schools in most part of the hills closed. The state transport authorities on Friday said various stretches of national and state highways have been blocked. Meanwhile, Delhi recorded highest 24-hour December precipitation in 22 years. The heavy rainfall and high-velocity winds in the national capital led to a significant improvement in the city's air quality. Delhi recorded a low of 12.8 degrees Celsius and a high of 21.5 degrees Celsius, which was 2 notches below normal. The US and China have announced the Phase 1 trade agreement, bringing a big breakthrough after over 18-month-long bruising trade war between the world's 2 largest economies, threatening to roil the global economy. The Phase 1 of the deal requires structural reforms and other changes to China's economic and trade regime in the areas of intellectual property, technology transfer, agriculture, financial services, and currency and foreign exchange. The deal says if China breaks any part of the agreement, the Trump administration has the ability to re-implement tariffs. US negotiators are offering to significantly reduce existing tariffs on Chinese imports worth about $360 billion. In return, China has promised to buy large quantities of US soybeans, poultry, and other agricultural products. If the new higher tariffs had gone ahead, Chinese-made goods such as smartphones, clothing, and toys would have become more expensive for Americans just ahead of Christmas. US lawmakers took the grave step on Friday of approving 2 charges against US President Donald Trump, setting up a full House of Representatives vote to impeach the president over his alleged misconduct. Democrats and Republicans in the House Judiciary Committee voted along strict party lines, 23-17, appearing somber as they put Trump on track to become only the 3rd president to be impeached in US history. International news now. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, after securing an emphatic victory in the UK election held on Thursday, has said he hopes his party's extraordinary election win will bring closure to the Brexit debate and let the healing begin. Addressing a victory rally, Johnson hailed a new dawn which unarguably broke the Brexit deadlock and vowed not to let down the sacred trust placed in him by the voters who turned out for the first winter election in decades to register a 67% turnout. Johnson, who won his own seat in London's Uxbridge and South Ruislip, hailed the Conservative Party's triumph as a powerful new mandate to move forward with his deal to leave the 28-member economic bloc on 31st January. With results in from all 650 parliamentary seats declared, the Conservatives had won 365, their biggest election win since Margaret Thatcher's 1987 triumph. Meanwhile, opposition Labour Party of Jeremy Corbyn captured just 203 seats.
In this election, your voice has been heard, and about time too. Because we politicians have squandered the last 3 years, 3.5 years, in squabbles about Brexit. We've even been arguing and about the tone of our arguments. I will put an end to all that nonsense, and we will get Brexit done on time by the 31st of January. No ifs, no buts, no maybes.
And with this, it's a wrap on this edition of Breakfast News. Thank you so much for joining us.